Hi, my name is Avril Sauter and you're watching Conducting Cisco Unified Wireless Site Survey, and we are now going to talk about next steps. So in this lesson we're going to talk about what we have learnt in the prior lessons, just remind ourselves of all that information that we've covered. Then we're going to talk about what do you do next now you've finished the course, what are the next steps that you could consider doing. Then I want to touch on the Cisco wireless certification and some of the options available to you to go forward. So we've covered an awful lot of ground. We started off talking about some basic radio fundamentals. We talked about RF spectrum, channel frequencies and channel bandwidth. We talked about modulation and coding, and we took our first glimpse at the Cisco Spectrum Expert. We then went on to talk about regulations and equipment ratings. We talked about the regulations that are different around the world in the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz bands, and we focused in specifically looking at the FCC rules that apply here in the United States, and it's an example of those spectrum regulations. We then went on to talk about antennas, talked about the basic concept of antennas, starting with the isotopic antenna. We talked about, well, when do you use external antennas with your access point versus the internal antennas? We discussed MIMO. What is MIMO? We talked about multiple spatial streams that leverage off the multipath environment. And we did a demo showing the impact of antennas on coverage and capacity. And we took a look at the impact of antennas on your coverage. We then went on to talk about how to assess your customer needs. We talked about how each physical environment is unique, and therefore the RF environment is also unique. The usage requirements are different as well. Each customer has a different set of uses, different set of implementation requirements. We also in that section talked about the different vertical markets like hospitals and schools and warehouses. And we did a demonstration of a customer query that you can now use when you go forward and do your site surveys to collect customer site information. We then went on to discuss survey models. Is this a data-only network? Is it a voice network, high density, location-aware, bridge or mesh? We then went on to trying to understand what a predictive site survey is. So this is where I predict where my access point should go, what my coverage would look like given a location map, and some basic understanding about the RF environment, such as is this a cubed office environment, a walled office, an outdoor environment. We then went on and actually did a demo of creating a predictive site survey, and we did a predictive site survey for the train signal headquarters location using the Cisco wireless communication system tool, and we used that tool in planning mode. We then got ourselves to a point, well, gee, I've predicted what I think the coverage is. Now I need to prepare myself to go out and do a site survey. We talked about the information you want to gather before you go out and conduct the site survey, and we also talked about the tools that you might want to take out on a site survey with you, including Wi-Fi spectrum analyzers, such as the Cisco Spectrum Expert. We then went on to say, let me understand the difference between a layer 1 and a layer 2 site survey. And so we started with the understanding of a layer 1 site survey, where we're looking at sources of interference and the impact of interference on my wireless LAN. And we defined how do you find the best channels to deploy your wireless network on in different locations on your customer site. In that lesson, we also took a look at some real-life spectrum plots. If you remember, you saw my microwave oven and how that interfered in the 2.4 gigahertz band. We then went on to actually conducting a Layer 1 site survey, and you saw a video of myself walking around train signal looking for sources of interference. Having done the Layer 1, we're then in a position to go and do the Layer 2 site survey. We had a discussion about how to perform a Layer 2 site survey in terms of defining your cell boundaries, how to place an access point, the first one, and then to place the next one, and different techniques that you could use to manually place your access point. We then went on and actually conducted a Layer 2 site survey, and to do that I used the Air Magnet Survey Pro tool in the train signal site to place my first access point, and then of course we can expand then to place the other access points. Then we went on to talk about the infrastructure requirements. Cabling, switches, wireless LAN controllers, appliances, making sure that when you deploy your wireless LAN that you're also thinking about the infrastructure and not just the access points and the antennas, but thinking about how it fits within the wired network to provide your customer a complete solution. And then finally, we talked about how do you meet your customer needs. So the system has been deployed, your installers followed your recommendation, and now you've gone back out and said, did this meet my customer requirements? And then you produce your final installation report, finishing up the process of doing a site survey. So you've completed this course. Well done. And the next thing is, what's next? Well, you might want to consider going on to take your certification exam. And so you'll want to prepare for taking your Conducting Cisco Unified Wireless Site Survey exam. And you need to listen to that lesson that will really give you some insights as to how to prepare and to take that exam and be successful. The other thing, whether or not you're going on to do the exam or you just want to go on and do the job of conducting site surveys, use these lessons as a reference material. Don't just put them on the shelf and say, I've done that course, I don't need to look at it again. Refer to it. We've gone to a lot of trouble to index it in such a way that you can quickly find the pieces that you're interested in. Oh, I've forgotten what we said about the regulation aspects, or I've forgotten what we said about how to place the first access point. Go back and look for that in the course and just use it as a reference going forward. You should also always look at the Cisco Learning Network because things are changing all the time and they're adding additional information. I've added two websites here. One is for the home link, the learningnetwork.cisco.com, but I've also added the direct link that will take you into the website that's specifically for the certification that relates to this course, the CUWSS wireless certification. So the CCNA wireless certification is really focused on those folks that are actually using the Cisco equipment in their wireless network. So it's focused on developing skills of configuration, implementation, and then the subsequent support of your wireless LANs. Now, the CCNA wireless certification is actually considered a CCNA concentration. So it's one of several specialized subjects. And so you must first pass the original CCNA certification. And once you've got your CCNA certification, then you can do the CCNA wireless certification. Again, that's called a concentration certification exam. Now, the CCNP wireless certification is really focused around the people that are designing and implementing your wireless networks. So it has a greater emphasis on the wireless networking principles and the theory behind it, and then is taking that theory, those technical specifications, and then applying that to actually design and install your wireless network. And you can see here that the CCNP wireless certification has 4 components to it, one of which is the conducting Cisco Unified Wireless Site Survey. So once you've got your certification for this course, i.e. the conducting Cisco Unified Wireless Site Survey, you can then go on to selecting one of these implementation classes. One's looking at the unified wireless security, one's looking at the voice networks, and one's looking at mobility services. So encompassing those together will then give you your CCNP wireless certification. Now, all of these courses have been updated in 2012. And they will include many of the more recent material compared with the older syllabus. So you're going to see things like 802.11n, rich media focused on voice, video, etc. in those certification programs. So lastly, we really value having your opinions and feedback on this course, and there are many different ways that you can reach us. We've put our phone numbers here, our email, and we've even got a forum that you're able to post your comments on. Connect to us in all the normal social media mechanisms. Do check out our blog, connect to us on Facebook, use the Twitter to follow us and talk with us. Look for more information on our website on additional wireless courses or maybe other wired courses that you might also be interested to take. And then check out some of our YouTube training that we provide as well on various different topics. So again, lots of good ways to interface with us, both relating to this course and then going forward as you continue to evolve your education and experience and build your portfolio of certifications. I wish you the very best in going forward. I'm really hoping that this course gave you not only the ability to take the certification, but really improved your ability to do the job the way that you understand what's happening. Just have tremendous fun, because if you're in the wireless industry, it's a great industry to be in. Always full of fun as you try and say, well, why is this happening? So just have fun with this, and best wishes for your future career.